mute. And also, again, just a polite reminder to make sure that you put your questions in the chat. So let me hand over now to Chloe, and thanks very much for joining the session.
Lovely, thank you, Sarah. So hi guys, my name is Chloe and I'm a CPD coordinator here at IOSH. So the purpose of today's presentation is just to run through a bit about the new Blueprint system and what it's about and how you guys can use it. Just before we start, I do apologise that I'm not looking at the camera, but my main screen that I'm presenting from today is this way, so I'll be looking this way. So let's get started. So if we'll just run through a bit about why, we've brought in these changes. So we are really looking to increase the standards for the IOSH profession. We're looking to future-proof our membership grades, as some of the grades need changing, and the way that they are at the moment doesn't currently reflect where we want to be. The idea behind the changes is to make it better for you guys as members. We want to make it feel like you are getting the most out of your membership and from your membership as a whole. And I can say, firsthand from using Blueprint, the system is a change from the old system that we did have. As some of you may know, the Skillshare platform that we previously had, it was very outdated and very old-fashioned, and it wasn't easy to use. So overall, I think if you do get anything from today's session, you'll get that this Blueprint system is technically a lot better and a lot easier for you guys to use. And as well, these changes, it's a direct response from what you guys want from this as members. It's a change that's driven by you guys, and hopefully it's a system that will reflect what you have been asking for from us, from IOSH. So, what and when? So we actually launched Blueprint back in November 2022, and you should have received an email back in November introducing you to Blueprint and giving you login details. So what we have on the new Blueprint is we have a self-assessment tool, and then off the back of the self-assessment tool, you'll be given a personal development plan. You also have the CPD platform, and you have the IOSH ethical practice in IOSH e-learning and assessment. Now, the self-assessment looks at areas that you are strongest at within your role, and it will also help you identify where there's any kind of gaps in your knowledge and where your areas for improvement are. Now, a big thing to remember when doing the self-assessment is that it is personal to you and it is only suggested. What the self-assessment and the personal development plan do is it will direct you as to where your CPD can be focused. And as I've just mentioned, it's personal to you and your development, and you can add things into it, and you can also take things out of it as well. So as I've mentioned, the self-assessment, you've got the self-assessment, the personal development plan, and your CPD platform. Now, this offers you a new updated look. You've also got resources in the Blueprint library that we'll go through in the demonstration that you can see. And it's also a lot more user-friendly overall. So I think this system will make it a lot easier for you guys to kind of navigate through. So the competency framework has been used to underpin the new Blueprint and the new CPD requirements. So what we've done is we've broken it down into the three main competencies, which are your technical, your core, and your behavioural. And obviously the CPD resources that we have in the library all linked to these three competency areas. Now, the self-assessment, as I've mentioned, is based on these competencies. And as you can see on the wheel, there's 12 deeper areas that the self-assessment focuses on. And that's, and obviously, again, when we go into the demonstration, we'll go through it in a bit more detail. So when you first log in, this is what you'll see on your dashboard. Like I've already touched on, the Blueprint self-assessment has been designed and put together with the competency framework in mind. It will help you assess yourself and where you are within your career, and then also help you pin where you want to be in your career. You'll be able to identify where your strengths are and where your areas for development are. Now, the self-assessment can take around 2 hours to complete. Now it is subject to how you learn and how you develop yourself. So 2 hours is kind of what we recommend, but depending on how you learn and your kind of learning style, it will differ from person to person. Now, my advice when completing the self-assessment is, and what I've said to many members is, don't overthink it. The self-assessment isn't set out to trick you in any way. It's what we are looking for you to do is answer the questions and the statements that best reflect your current professional practice. We recognise that all of our members work in a broad range of industries and sectors, and you all have different career paths. So the self-assessment isn't always going to perfectly reflect what you do day to day. But yeah, we ask that you answer it in a way that best reflects and describes your current practices and abilities. And what Blueprint will do is then identify any gaps in your competency, but it's your personal choice whether you'd like to focus your CPD efforts there. So once you've completed your self-assessment, you'll be given a personal development plan, which is based on the answers that you give in your self-assessment. Now, as I've already mentioned, you can add to it, you can take it away and take things away. It's completely your choice. Now, once you've completed your self-assessment and you've got past that stage in your personal development plan, this is the screen that you'll begin to see. This is what the main dashboard looks like, and as you can see, there's 3 main sections on there. You've got your CPD record, you've got your personal development plan, which is in the middle, and then on the right hand side or the left hand side, depending on what way you're looking at it, you'll be able to see that there's a CPD resource library. And then at the bottom of the page, which you can't see at the moment, but again in the demonstration in a little bit, we'll go through the ethics, which will drop off at the bottom of the page. So CPD has slightly changed. You have access to thousands of CPD resources from every topic, from the self-assessment and the PDP. So really, your CPD is actually easier than ever to undertake because you've got all the resources that you need there to go through it. So like before, you'll need a development plan, but completing the self-assessment will take that out for you. You'll need to then undertake your CPD and record it, and then you'll need to reflect on the CPD that you've undertaken. One of the main and biggest changes to the CPD is that it's now, rather than recording it in activities, we now are requiring you to record it in hours. So all members who are required to undertake CPD, it is now 30 hours for you to complete. Affiliate members and student members aren't required to do CPD because it's not mandatory for these membership grades. But to be at best practice within that membership grade, it is advised that you undertake those 30 hours as well. Now, another one of the changes that we've brought in is with the launch of Blueprint is the launch of the IOSH ethical practice in OSH e-learning and assessment. Now, these consist of 3 e-learning modules, and then it will conclude with a multiple choice assessment at the end. So the ethical practice e-learning and assessment is mandatory for our chartered and chartered fellow members. but then again, it is also advised any other membership categories, again, to be at best practice, that you undertake these, and these can all be recorded as a CPD activity. Now that concludes the presentation. It was a short one because we wanted to focus the bulk of the time going through Blueprint and showing you how it all works. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen now, and then we'll log into Blueprint and we'll go through the demonstration. Okay. Can everyone see that Blueprint screen okay? Perfect. Okay, so as I've mentioned in the presentation, when you first log into Blueprint, this is the screen that you'll see. You'll see this is the self-assessment. And in order for you to move forward and go into the dashboard, this does need to be completed. So as you can see, it's broken down into those 3 competency areas. So you've got your behavioural, your core, and your technical. So if we just click onto this second one, this is kind of what this is what it will look like, sorry, when you go in. So you'll get asked that you'll have to take the time to read the questions and go through it. You'll put down whatever, as I say, whatever best reflects your current working practices. So you'll go through, read through the questions, and then answer accordingly. And then, so if we go back. So as you can see, it's very text heavy. And this is why, you know, we kind of say that 2-hour mark potentially for completing it. But as I say, everyone kind of progresses at different rates. It may take you a little bit longer. And if it does, that's absolutely fine. Just take your time and read through it carefully is what I'd recommend on that one. And with the self-assessment, it can be put down as a CPD activity. So any time that you do take to do this is a CPD activity that you can put down. So once we've moved forward and on to the completed the self-assessment and you've got the development plan, this is the dashboard that you will see. Now, my dashboard is slightly different to what yours is. There is a couple of extra buttons on mine that won't be on yours, so don't be alarmed if you don't see everything that I've got. So if we go through. Now, as I've shown you on the presentation, you've got the three boxes at the top, your CPD record, where your personal development plan will be, and the CPD resource library. And then at the bottom, you've got the ethical practice in IOSH, e-learning and assessment. So if we go into your CPD record to begin with, this is what it will look like when you go in. Now, we have actually transferred across a year's worth of backdated CPD from the old system that we had. That will be seen in your CPD year. So if there's anything that you are missing, what I'd recommend is getting in touch with us directly, because we can have a look into it for you and just see where anything like that is. But all of your CPD from November 2021 to November 2022 will be in there and will be reflected in these CPD years. So if we go in and add in an activity, so this is what it will look like when you go in to add a CPD activity. We'll need to pop in a activity title. So So you'll need to title it and you'll need to pop down a category. So we'll pop it down as all of those and just put a brief description. So as you can see, it's fairly similar to what we were requiring you to do in the old CPD platform. You are still required to put in a reflection. With the reflection, we now are asking for 500 characters. Now that's 500 characters, not 500 words. We're not looking for an essay from you. We are still only looking for a brief kind of description. So we'll look for what the activity was, why you did it, how you will take it forward in your career, and that will make up the reflection. So as I say, you are required to do 500 characters. If I actually close this down and give you an example. So you'll need to put in the 500 characters. Now you cannot save it as a complete activity until you have 500 characters. As you can see, I've just deleted some text from it and it's got rid of the completed box. Now, if I add that back in, I can then mark the start date, the end date, and record it as a complete activity. And again, you won't be able to save it if you don't have the amount of hours that activity was as well. If we save that, if we go back to the home dashboard. Now, I'd show you the self-assessment, but that will just take us back to the page that we had originally at the beginning. Now, this will be different for everyone because obviously everyone's personal development plan is different and it's tailored towards you guys and what you are doing. So what we'll do is we'll go into the CPD resource library. Now, as you can see, if you click the drop down on the select a competency area, you'll be able to see that there's the 3 competency areas: your technical, your core, and your behavioural, again, which all reflects and goes into the self-assessment and the questions that you would have been answering in that self-assessment. So you can really tailor it to what you are wanting to look for, and it will give you everything that you need within that competency area. So again, if we go here. Now, it's worth noting that obviously, as I've mentioned, that this system, we'd like to think for you guys, it is a lot more user-friendly. So we do actually have an accessibility toolbar that you can use. So it's located right at the bottom of the screen. And what you can do in this accessibility toolbar is you can change the language, you can change the font and things like that. So you can really tailor it to what you are looking for and things like that. Now, if we go on to the ethical practice in IOSH e-learning and assessment. Now, as mentioned in the presentation, this is mandatory for all our chartered and chartered fellow members. Now, this will need to be completed on a yearly basis for you guys. And then obviously any other members, your technical and graduate members, it's not mandatory, but it is advisory that you do it to be at best practice. And again, it can be used as a CPD activity and put into your CPD when you do it. So this isn't starting from the beginning, but just to give you an idea of what these look like, this is what it will look like when you go in and complete the ethics assessment. So you'll go in and you'll have text to read and things like that. There's interactive interactive bits that you can click on. So it will give you bites of information that you can use. Now, it's worth noting as well with these, it won't let you progress on forward until you have read all of the information on these interactive bits. So if for any reason you come across it and it's not moving forward, it's more than likely that you need to click on these interactive bits just to get a bit more information from it. And then once you've got all of the information, you'll be able to click on forward. And then once we exit, and then once you've completed it, you will then get the option. Well, then you'll need to do the self-assessment, the assessment on it. So I'm conscious that I've spoke a bit at you guys. So is there any kind of questions that we have in the chat box at the moment, Emily, that we could potentially go through?
Yeah, I've got a few. So I just want to clarify a few things first, because it might answer some of the questions we've already received. Yep. So we had one question regarding any long-term option to have the platform display in local languages. So you've already talked a little bit about the accessibility tool, but I feel like we might want to touch on it a little bit more. So if you want to open it up, so with the accessibility tool, just to clarify for everyone in the meeting, as Chloe said, it's about language. So they also have the majority of the languages on there, an audio option. You can change the color spectrum on this. You can change the font, so you can make it to user friendly in any way that you need it to be done. So if you just want to show what it looks like when you change the languages and so forth, and just go through a little bit about it for them. Because this is a big thing that has changed compared to the last CPD platform.
Yeah. So as you can see, if you click on the language that you do want, it will automatically change it to the language that you are looking for. Now, as you can see as well, some of them that you click on, it has the little speaker. That means that it can read it out to you. Now, not all of the language options do have that at the moment. That would be something that we would look into bringing in the future, hopefully. But yeah, you can adapt it to whatever language you are looking for. And then you can also reset it back to the default, which would be English. But yeah, you have all of your language options in here. And as you can see, that we have, got quite a lot of languages on there. So we are hoping that it is a lot more accessible for you guys, because the previous system that we had, it wasn't accessible like that. So hopefully, yeah, that'll be better for you guys.
Okay, so one question that we had was, do retired members, do they actually need to complete CPD?
So we have two retired CPD options. We have retired without maintaining your CPD. If you are under that option, there's no requirement for you to do the blueprint and keep up with your CPD. But if you are under the retired with CPD, meaning you've chosen to upkeep your CPD and maintain your membership grade, you would need to complete the self-assessment and the blueprint.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so I've had a couple of questions that come in, so I want to sort of encompass them a little bit together. So there's been a bit of a confusion regarding, I think, hours. So just to clarify, what you're seeing right now, that's almost like a dummy account. So this is Chloe's account. So the hours that are stated on here will be completely different to what you see. But can you just explain how the hours are shown? and how you can divvy that up, because I think there's been a few questions on that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so as Emmeline has mentioned, this is my account. So CPD hours that you do see on there, they are my own, and some of them it's just for demonstration purposes. But once you go into the dashboard, this is what you'll see on the dashboard. And as you can see, you'll have the 12 months that of your CPD that's required, and it will tally it in those hours for you. Now, the hours that you've achieved will show up in green, and there will be marked as a full circle, meaning that the activity is complete. You've put the reflection in. You've put the full reflection in, the date, everything like that we are looking for, and it's been saved as a complete activity. Now, if it's saved as pending, it will come up with a half circle. And what that means is you'll need to go in. It just means that you've not saved it properly. So if we go in, and I'll show you, you'll see it change. So we've got the CPD webinar, CPD Blueprint. Now, you can see that the CPD hours here. Now, that's depending on the activity that you do and how long you are taking to do that activity. For the time being, you can only record 10 hours of CPD per activity. Now, so let's say, for example, we did today and we put it down for an hour. I do apologise about this. This is just so I can hit that word count and show you. So yeah, as you can see, as I'm putting in the reflection, you'll see the word count, the character count going up. And once you hit 500, you'll get that record is complete. You'll be able to put in the end date, which is today, and the start date, which is today. And you'll be able to record it as a complete activity. And it will save. And then it will go into the achieved hours that you've done. So yeah, you'll be able to see all of the hours that you've done, you've achieved a CPD here. It will also tally up in this bar here. So you'll be able to see, depending on your CPD year, you'll be able to see where you're at and things like that. And then you'll also be able to see here if it's completed. So as I've mentioned, the full circle means that you've completed that activity, and the half circle means it's pending and something hasn't been saved properly. So yeah, hopefully that clears that up slightly, and it's provided a bit more clarity for you guys on that.
And can you just confirm the amount of CPD hours that is necessary?
Yeah, so it is 30 hours that you need to complete over the 12-month period. It will tell you up here the amount of hours that we are looking for. It will tell you in your CPD record. And then you'll be able to see here the amount of hours that you have done. So I'm 6.5 hours through my 30 hours. And then again, as I've mentioned, the pending hours that haven't saved properly will just save here. And once saved properly, we'll go into those achieved. So you'll be able to see really clearly all of the hours that you've done and what is required, the amount of hours.
Okay, so I've had another couple of questions in the chat and I want to group them together. So obviously the Blueprint CPD platform went live in November. Can you just clarify how much of the previous CPD was moved over?
Yeah, so it would have only been 1 year backdated CPD. So from November 2021 to November 2022, we would have transferred over for you guys. Anything prior would have need to be downloaded. If there's anything that you are missing and anything that you do want previous to November 2021, you can get in touch. So if you drop us an email, I'll share the email again for you in a bit. You can drop us an email and we can send it across to you.
Okay, and say for example, as you said, 1 year of CPD is moved over to the new platform. Does that mean that if, say, for example, any members wanted to backdate even further, can they do that? And will it be included to the new CPD hours for this year?
So it won't be included in your new CPD hours for this year, because anything that you do prior to that will fall into your CPD year, which is shown here. It will fall into that year, and we won't be looking that far back. We'll only be looking at what we're doing in the current CPD year. But you are more than welcome to go back and add in backdated CPD if you do wish to do so, but it's not a requirement.
Okay, so if the CPD isn't completed, what are the consequences for the membership levels that are required to complete CPD? And can you just repeat which membership levels are required to do that as well?
Yeah, so anyone that is tech or above, so technical, graduate, chartered members and chartered fellows, it is mandatory for you to be completing your CPD to keep up to date with your membership requirements. Now, with this new system, it's worth noting that sanctions will be brought in for anyone that isn't hitting the CPD requirements, but that is a last resort. We'll always help you and provide support where needed if you're not hitting those requirements at the moment. And if there's anything we can do to support you, because as I say, the sanctions will be a last resort. So yeah, that is what will be coming in for anyone that doesn't maintain CPD. But that is something that will be communicated out, because we're not bringing in the sanctions until 2024.
Okay, thank you. And I know you touched on this, but I actually don't think you might have specified this, but the courses in the library free, or must members pay?
So yeah, so that's a good question actually. There is some courses in there that are free, but then there's also some courses in there that you can pay for. So that it will lead you to things such as the IOSH managing safely and things like that, if it's something that's required from your personal development plan. But there's no kind of obligation to do the paid courses. It's your choice. It's just there as an option. But the majority of those courses and the content within that library is free resources. I think there's only a small number which are payable, which again are those IOSH managing safely and working safely kind of courses.
Just to clarify, because we've had a few questions, the questions that we'll be answering today are just referring to the CPD and the blueprint. If you have any questions regarding the process to charter membership and that, please email pds@iosh.com. We are solely concentrating on CPD and blueprint today. The next question is, I'm just going to read this slowly. So for the self-assessment, I saw that there were some questions that asked about my understanding of certain safety terms, such as safety culture. It appears the answers can be different to different people. Will this affect my assessment or competence if my answer is different?
No. So with the self-assessment, like I mentioned in the presentation, the way that I advise you answer it is in a way that best reflects your current practices and abilities. Now everyone in this session today has different roles, different responsibilities, and different things that they do day to day. So the way that you answer it is personal to you, and personal to what you do day to day. we're not going to penalise you if your answer is different in any way. It's just a way of kind of benchmarking, you know, where you are and where you are in your career, and where you want to be. So it doesn't matter if your answer is different to someone else's, it's what you do day to day. I hope that clarifies that one for you.
Okay, thank you. So I have had one comment saying this looks sort of really complicated. Can you just go back to the dashboard and just sort of re-show it? So maybe go through the menu on the sidebar first and what each means, and then we can quickly go through the dashboard. But just to confirm, the only the difference is from the last CPD platform is that we looked at CPD activities being done within a 12-month time frame. It's still in a 12-month time frame, but it's hours this time round. And yes, it's a different platform, but it's more accessible. So maybe just go through it again, because they might have missed it at the beginning when you were talking about it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So let's go start with this bit. So you've got the dashboard. So if you bring that out, and as I've mentioned, just as a disclaimer, when you log into your Blueprint, there will be buttons on yours that you don't have. Now that's completely normal. I do just have a slightly altered one. So there'll be a few buttons on there that you are missing. So if we close that, so if you click here, the dash, it will just bring out that dashboard for you. So clicking here will bring you to back to this main Blueprint dashboard. Then you'll have the CPD resource library, which will take you directly into that resource library. You'll have your CPD record, and then you'll also have your personal development plan down the side and a settings button. Going into here, you'll just be able to access and change your password and things like that. So if we close that down. So yeah, on the main dashboard, this is what you'll see. Again, I can understand why it does look fairly complicated, because compared to the old CPD platform that we had, you've got a lot more resources, a lot more things that you can click on and use for your CPD. So when you log in, you've got that CPD record, your personal development plan, and then the CPD resource library and the IOSH ethical practice in e-learning and assessment. These will all come up on this main dashboard. So if you click onto this one, again, it will bring you into your CPD record. And again, you can access it on this side as well. And just clicking on here, it will take you back to the main dashboard. It seems fairly complicated and there's a lot of things going on, but once you become familiar with the platform and how it works, it will be really easy for you to navigate through. So if we go onto this one and we click on the CPD resource library, again, it will just take you to that resource library and allow you to click on and open them. Now I've clicked on it, it's worth mentioning that anything that you do access in the resource library, you can add it straight as a CPD activity. So anything that you've used, so yeah, for example, this one, the active listening, say I've used that and I've accessed it, I can then click and add it as an activity. It won't add anything or populate anything in it for you. You do have to put in the reflections, but it just lets you know. It's just a quick way for you to add it as an activity, having used it. Close that. And then again, if I just click this home button, it will take me to that dashboard. So hopefully that kind of helps a little bit. Now, if you are kind of stuck on anything on there, we do have the help button at the top. It will give you information for the CPD activities. It will give you information for the ethical practice. and e-learning, and then it will also give you help for the self-assessment. So we've got a guidance sheet, the frequently asked questions, and then there's also a supporting video in there for you. And we have that for all three. So the self-assessment, your CPD activities, and the IOSH ethical practice. And if any of those don't help, or you can't find the information that you are looking for, you do have the CPD email and our contact numbers there as well.
Okay, thank you. It might just be worth, because I know you touched a little bit on it, but I think there's a couple of things that missed off. When you're adding on a CPD activity, can you just quickly go through the use of what, because it states evidence and web link, and then can you show how to delete an activity, how to edit an activity, and just advise what the guidance for evidence and so forth.
Yeah, absolutely. So if we go in and add, now with the upload evidence and add web link, previously our CPD has always been a reflective account, so we want you guys to reflect on what you've done. Adding in evidence and adding in things like that is not mandatory, and it's still not mandatory. But if you do wish to upload anything such as a certificate, links to any kind of websites you may have used, you can do that by clicking these bits here. So if you click in, it will allow you to add in documents, so PDF, Word documents, anything like that. So as I say, if you've done a webinar and you've got a certificate of attendance for that webinar, and you are wanting to upload it with the reflective statements, you absolutely can do so. And you just upload it in here. And then again, if you were conducting, say, for example, some research and you used a web link and it's something that you may potentially want to go back to, you can pop it in as a web link and have it there to kind of refer back to for yourself, but also have it as evidence that you've used it in there. So we want editing and deleting. So if we go into this one. So if you click on the activity that you want to edit, you'll just need to click on it, and then it will bring up this section. And if you click on edit, you can easily just go back in and amend what you need to. So if I just take this out, I can take this out and then add the bits on and things like that. So it's really simple to go in and edit an activity. All it requires you to do is click on the activity you want to go in and edit, and things like that. And then if there's something that you've put on your CPD and then you think it's not relevant, you don't want to use it anymore, that's absolutely fine. All you are required to do is close that down. Just go into the activity you want to delete, click edit, and then at the bottom, it will give you a delete this CPD activity. I would just advise double and triple checking that it is an activity you do want to delete, because once it has been deleted, you can't get it back. And we also won't be able to get it back for you. So just double and triple check that it's the one that you want to delete. And then all you'll be required to do is click delete. And then it will come out of your activity log. And then all of the hours will be updated and reflected. So as you can see, my CPD log has gone down and my hours have gone back.
Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I've got a question here. What's the difference between my IOSH and Blueprint? In my IOSH, there is also a section named my CPD, and Blueprint also keeps records of my CPD. Do I need to put maintain information on both sites / pages?
No. So you will, depending on if you access any of the course resources from Blueprint, it will take you to my IOSH, but that's for the careers hub and things like that. But in regards to your CPD, you are required to now maintain and upload all of your CPD to Blueprint. The CPD platform, the old CPD platform, is still open at the moment, but that's only for certain users that are completing their chartered, their IPD on the old platform. But other than that, everyone else is required to upload and maintain on this new Blueprint system.
Okay, and how long will the old CPD platform be opened to the ones who are not involved in the IPD process currently?
We don't have a date at the moment on how long it is going to be open for, but when it does become fully closed down, it will be communicated to all members.
And just to clarify, because there was a question that did pop up earlier on, with what you just said, say for example, someone carried on maintaining the old CPD platform, would that automatically, the new information that hasn't been transferred, will that automatically be transferred to Blueprint, or will that CPD information put on the Skillshare site be deleted and just lost?
It will, I'm not sure if it will be lost once it is closed down, but it won't be transferred across to the new Blueprint. Anything that you are putting onto the Skillshare, an old CPD platform, won't automatically be put onto the new Blueprint. So this is why we're advising that all CPD activities that you are doing is to be recorded in Blueprint.
Okay, so for the person who asked that question, it is advisable to start then using the new CPD platform as soon as possible. Okay, and I just want to clump a couple of questions here regarding that. So I know you just went over the help, but there are videos that will be uploaded onto the Hong Kong website with this demonstration. You've seen Chloe's also gone over the help documents that are attached to the CPD Blueprint, but just to state, even if you still need support after this, and the CPD team will be running workshops. Is it every Friday? Am I correct in that? Like,
it won't be every Friday. At the moment, it's one Friday a month, but there'll be two during there'll be two on a day. So if you are interested in those, you can drop us an email and we can send you the dates across. Or alternatively, I do actually think they're now on the website. So you can also have a look on the website and see if there's any dates that are available for you.
So just to clarify, how can you register for those workshops?
So to register, just drop us an email and then we can add you on to the list, and then we'll send you the links closer to the time.
And are you just okay to quickly put in the chat the email address that they would need to send any sort of queries regarding Blueprint or register for the workshops in the chat for me, if that's brilliant. Okay, thank you. Okay, so I do have another question.
Yeah.
Here, I don't know if it will be we'll be able to answer it today, but maybe you can answer this, Chloe. I don't know. So
if I can, I will.
Is there any consideration to link up our Hong Kong local CPD requirement for our registered safety officers, in which we are mandated to have 100 hours for every 4 years in order to fill our registration? are we in any chance to incorporate both IOSH and Hong Kong requirements into the IOSH system, or have some exceptions in CPD hours? May need to a further discussion after this webinar.
I think a discussion on that after the webinar would probably be best, but it's something that, you know, we can have a look into.
So for that question, if you can just email it to the email address that Chloe's put in the chat, that can be looked into further for you. I know it was looked into previously because it's not the first time we've had that question, but if you want some more clarification, please email that in because we weren't able to answer it today.
Yeah.
Just regarding about evidence, because there have been a couple of questions on this, you do not have to, if I'm correct in this, provide evidence for all the CPD activities. It's just an option open to members. Is that correct, Chloe?
Yeah, so it's optional. As I say, we've never required you to kind of upload any evidence for your CPD. It's an optional thing. So yeah, if it's something that you do want to add on to, please feel free to add it on, but it's not required.
The reason why it was added on is because previously it was requested by quite a lot of members, so we added that functionality in there. So I've got another question here. I'm assuming this is to do with CPD hours again, but how many CPD we got when we complete the IOSH ethical practice in the OSH e-learning and assessment? So how many hours can you gain from that?
So again, that depends how long it takes you. So say, for example, if you do the first one and it takes you an hour and a half, put down as an hour and a half, because that's time that you've taken out to do that. Again, if it takes you 2 hours, put down 2 hours. I know we understand that everyone does these things at their own pace, has different ways of absorbing what they are reading and taking in. So it's personal to you and how long you take to do that.
Okay, brilliant. Thank you. Okay, so I know there's been a few changes, obviously, with the old CPD platform to the new CPD platform. However, we might just want to clarify the actual subject of a CPD activity hasn't actually changed. So do you just want to go over some of the CPD activities that are accepted?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so yeah, like Emmeline said, none of the activities and what you were doing previously have changed. Anything that you was doing before, you can still use, and we'd still, you know, encourage you to put down as an activity. So whether that's this like webinars such as these, your branch events, your meetings, any kind of courses that you do that relate to what you're doing within your job roles, even things such as if you do a 20-minute, 30-minute online course on minute taking for meetings, it's something that you are, you know, learning for your role. So it's something that can be added in and put in as a CPD activity. So yeah, anything that you were previously doing as a CPD activity, you can still use.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so I've got another question here. It's close to what the evidence was, but maybe just to re-clarify. As Chloe has said, evidence isn't actually required for the CPD activities, but if you wanted to, but you didn't have the necessary evidence, you can just put it in your reflective account of what you were doing. But the question is how to submit evidence for some webinars without certificate or for any worksheet from CPD resource.
Sorry, can you just repeat that?
Sure. How to submit evidence for some webinars without a certificate or for any worksheet from a CPD resource. I'm just assuming, if Chloe, you can say if I'm wrong here, that if you don't have the evidence, you might just want to talk about it within the reflective account. Because remember, there's a minimum requirement of characters, but there isn't a maximum.
Absolutely. Yeah, I couldn't have put it better myself. it's a minimum requirement of 500 characters. It's just because we need to see that you are putting in enough information for it to be reflective. But as Emmeline said, there's no maximum word count. If I show you my this one, for example, as you can see, if I highlight it, it's over 1,500 characters. And I could have waffled on for a lot longer in that one. But yeah, the evidence that you upload, we don't require it. And if you don't have it, again, that's absolutely fine. You can just go through it in that reflection. So yeah, you answered that one for me, Emily.
Okay, that's fine. And just to re-clarify, remember the reflector count from the CPD platform previously, it's the same questions you're asking. So Chloe did mention it, but just to reiterate, it's what did you do? Why did you do it? How did you approach it? And what have you gained, and how can you take it forward within your professional career? So I do have another question. Mm-hmm. This I don't think hasn't been asked, but I do think it's quite valid. So obviously previously with the requirements for best practice, it was 6 activities covered in a 12-month time frame. So the way we broke it down is, you know, try and aim for an activity every 2 months. So it's 30 hours. I think a couple of questions have hinted onto it. How would you advise someone to approach the CPD to aim for 30 hours and how to break it down?
Yeah, okay. That's a good one. So the way that I would approach it, now CPD is something that we'd all really be doing day to day, you know, within roles such as this. You know, you're constantly learning, you're constantly taking in new information. Even if you break it down into 30 minutes to an hour a week, or even 20 minutes, and you know, kind of take time to add it in and kind of reflect on what you've done that week, or if there's something that you've done that day, it's worth noting down. I think what I can take from this actually as feedback for me, potentially coming up with a planner for you guys that we can give out to members that can kind of help you structure it down, because I know we did have one previously with the activities over the 12-month period, but we've not got one for this 30 hours. Sorry, I'm just noting this down. So I think that would probably be very useful, but the way that I would recommend doing it is potentially breaking it down into 20, 30 minutes or even an hour a week. Because if you do that weekly, you'll soon hit those 30 hours. But yeah, leave that one with me.
Okay, and I was just going to say, and if it isn't optional, because obviously a lot of health and safety professionals don't necessarily have that time frame to give each week.
Yeah.
Would there be another way, an avenue of going through it? Maybe looking into them, probably providing some guidance or something.
Yeah.
To get that available to members. Okay, so moving on from that question, I've got a good one here. So how often are the default courses on the Blueprint system updated? Would new courses be able to be filtered out so they are more easily identified? So is there like a filter system on the CPD resourcing, and you know, how often is it updated?
So it was actually recently updated. It's not showing on mine, but we have actually added in another, I believe it's another 500, 600 relevant CPD activities and courses into this resource library. But then, yes, you can filter it down. So You can filter it down to the competency areas, so your behavioural, your core, and your technical. So say, for example, we go to behavioural and communication, and then you can also select it down for the level that you are on. It's work, because obviously we don't have a personal development plan to go through. It's worth noting that these levels indicate that they're relevant to membership grades. So understand would be where we'd expect technical members to be. Lead is where we'd expect graduate members to be, and innovate and implement is where we'd expect chartered and chartered fellows to be. Again, as I've said, with the self-assessment, there's things in there that you'll come across that you'll think, I don't do that day to day. It's not within the remit of my role. That's absolutely fine. We're not going to penalise you in any way if any of those don't hit your membership criteria. It's just there as a guide. But yeah, you can select the competency area, so behavioural, and then, for example, if I wanted to look at the understand level, I can filter it down and I can see all of those requirements in there. So yeah, you can filter it down and you can search for them, or to, like, depending on what you're looking for.
Okay, so just to touch on the question, because I think it was more of a date that would say, so if you go on the course, does it give when a date of when the actual it was written, so the information was posted or created, so members can see how valid it is or how recent it is?
It should do. I'm just trying to access one that doesn't require me to log into my IOSH. Bear with me.
This might be something we might have to take off the table if Chloe can't enter into this. So please don't worry, any questions we don't answer today, we'll take a note of and we'll try and get back in contact with you, okay? So moving on from that one, I think this definition hasn't actually been stated yet, so it might be good to go through it, Chloe. So the question is, can I skip the self-assessment part and jump to enter CPD record directly?
No. So unfortunately, anyone that's technical or above, before going on to that main dashboard, you are required to complete that self-assessment. There's no option to skip, unfortunately.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so this one's probably, I probably should have asked this first, to be honest, because it's sort of connected to CPD resources. But after someone does their assessment and they get information about what activities they need to do, do they have to adhere to that list? So, meaning, do they have to actually complete the list that's been advised to do, or can they do activities that's more relevant to their current job role?
Yeah, so you don't have to do what the self-assessment and the personal development plan give you. That is just there as a guide. So if you do want to use it and focus your CPD efforts on there, that's great. But if you look at it and think, no, that's not what I do day to day, and you have a clear idea of where you do want to focus your CPD, then that's absolutely fine as well. You can, again, what I emphasize is that it's your CPD and it's your personal career, and it's your personal development. So whatever you feel you're going to take from it and benefit from it. And if it's nothing from that self-assessment, that's absolutely fine. It's just there as a guide.
Okay, thank you. Brilliant. Okay, so it does sort of border on to the other question that we've had. So you said it's a guidance. So just to reconfirm, if you can just say yes or no to this one. If my CPD can't fulfill all criteria per the self-assessment analysis, is there a consequence to that? And if so, what is it?
No consequence.
Okay, brilliant. So as Chloe said, it's just a guidance. I do have another one here. So what is the password for Blueprint? And is it the same password used for my IOSH? So maybe just clarify how you access the new CPD. Okay.
So back in November 2022, you should have had an email from us that would have had your Blueprint username and a temporary password. If you've not got that, you can drop us an email to that cpd.inquiries email, and we can access and get those sent across to you, because it is a different login to the My IOSH login.
Okay, thank you. And so this is to do with more of the CPD hours in a 12-month time frame. Is the 30 hours a calendar year, or is it based on the date from your membership renewal?
It's based on your membership renewal. So everyone's CPD year will be different, because it will reflect your own personal when you joined us and things like that. So if I just go back into the dashboard and open the CPD record, as you can see, this is when my CPD year runs from. November 22 to 15th of November 23. So that's when my CPD year runs. So yeah, it will be based off what your own personal membership and things like that are.
Okay, thank you. So we've hit all the questions on the chat. I just got a couple of other questions that I notated down. So first off, how do you know how long the logout function automatically happens on the system if it's not being used?
I believe it's around 30 minutes. That's when mine seems to log me out. So,
okay, and just to clarify, if, say, for example, you're in the middle of completing a CPD activity, so if you created one, and if you haven't been entering into it for over 30 minutes and it logged you out, does that automatically save the CPD activity that you started, or is it lost?
It won't save it, so it's probably worth, if you are taking a break from it or a pause from it, it would be worth saving it yourself. So when you are adding it on, as you're adding things in, you can save it as pending. That's what this will be. So it's not fully complete, but you do have to click save before, but it will save as pending, so you can come back to it.
Okay, great, thank you. And in the previous one, there was an option to download your CPD activities. Is there not a download option on this new platform?
Okay, so at the moment there is no download function, but it is something that a lot of members have been requesting, so we will be adding that in. It will potentially be end of April that function is available, but it is something that will be coming in, but it's not available just yet.
Okay, brilliant. And I've just thought of another one, just very quickly. Can you just confirm what the PDP stands for?
Yes, so PDP stands for your personal development plan.
Okay. Brilliant. So that a column will just automatically get fulfilled after. Okay, great. Okay, I've got one last question in the chat that's just come up. So can the extra CPD hours that you've done, so say for example in a CPD year, you've done over 30 hours, can the additional hours be carried over to the next year?
Unfortunately not. Anything that you are required to do, you're required to do the 30 hours yearly. So we'd still expect, even if you did 40, 50 hours this CPD year, we'd still be expecting 30 hours the next CPD year.
Okay, and just another question. This is probably to do with a little bit of the renewal and potentially what the previous question about the Hong Kong requirements for their CPD hours. So after you've completed 30 hours, you've done the year, how do they close that off, and how is like that acknowledged for the member?
So as you can see in this section, once you've hit that full 30 hours, this whole section will show green. So we'll be able to see on our end that you've hit those 30 hours. And then once you've completed it and you go into the next CPD year and after your renewal, that will just go back to not coloured out, but you'll still be able to see, again, if I just go in, you'll have all your CPD years shown in this area that you can go in and have a look at. But yeah, all of that will be shown up green, and we'll also be able to see it from our end. So if anyone's not hit those full 30 hours, we'll be able to see, and then we'll be in touch to kind of ask if you're okay, if you need any support, if there's anything that we can do just to get you through those.
Sorry, will there be anything that especially for members in Hong Kong that they could potentially download or provide as evidence that can go towards their requested hours, like such as a certificate or like an email confirmation that can go ahead?
I'm sure we could. I can't answer that yet because I don't know if it's something that we do, but it's certainly something that I can ask and we can potentially put in place.
Yeah, it just might be something that they would, members in Hong Kong would like to know, seeing as it was one of those, but we can include that into the query that we will take forward.
Absolutely, yeah, it can certainly be asked.
Just one quick one that's come in. So I can potentially answer this for you, Chloe, it's up to you. When I deliver a training to staff, what should I write in the reflection section? So that would be more of reflecting of actually what you did in the training. So like, what did you do? So what was the training? So actually the subject. Why did you do it? Is this part of your job? Or did you see that potentially there was an area gap in the staff's knowledge? So you created this training to answer that. How did you approach it? So how did you actually do the training? Was it like a presentation? Was it a course? Was there like a mini exam at the end? Did they have to pass certain requirements? And so how was it medium? Was it just like something to read, or was there several different elements in the training that you did? And how can you take it forward? So technically training is a transferable skill. So it could just be like a refresher on what you already know, or it could be helping you towards managing and training people going forward. So that's probably what you'd want to put into your reflective account, or anything else that you feel is relevant. I'm correct in thinking that if you answer those questions and give more information, technically there's no right or wrong answer in there. Is that correct, Chloe?
Yeah, correct. So it's whatever you get from it. So essentially what Emmeline said, I couldn't have put it better myself, really. Whatever you are getting from it, and if there's anything that potentially you could have done differently for the next training that you do, things like that can be put in. So yeah, your reflection is always very personal to you, and what you've done and things like that.
Okay, brilliant. Okay, so I think that's the last of all the questions. So as Sarah stated earlier on at the beginning of the presentation, this has been recorded and this will be uploaded to the Hong Kong branch website in the next few weeks, so you can re-look at it. please remember there are guidance on your CPD record under the help, and there are workshops that will be planned, which Chloe and the CPD team will be running and holding. So if you are interested in them, we have put the email address in the chat, which is cpd.inquiries@iosh.com. Remember, I know this all looks quite new and you might feel like you don't want to have a try, or you're a little bit wary of it, but I think it's always best to just try and have a go. And remember, the team are there to answer any questions and here to support you. But other than that, thank you, Chloe, for attending today and doing this demonstration. I feel like it's been very fruitful. And thank you for those who have attended. Sarah, is there anything else that you want to say at all today?
No, that's perfect. But again, I do think on behalf of the branch, it probably is something that we want to go back over and have a look at and collaborate with the local Labour Department on the CPD records. I think that would be definitely beneficial.
We'll definitely take that question on board and take that further. But other than that, thank you for attending and enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we'll speak to you soon. Okay, bye.
Bye.